Hello, my name is Morteza Kordi, and in this tutorial, we are going to learn about functions that return values. So, functions that return value. So, what does that mean? Some functions can return a value of a specific type. So, let me give you a real example. So, for example, we want to create a times table application, right? So, first of all, we need a function that performs the task of multiplying two numbers together. So for example, number 2 multiplied by 2, and then, so this is the function, right? The task of multiplying two numbers together. And that function must return the result of multiplication. So for example, we have number 2 multiplied by 2. So the result of this function must be returned from this function so that we can actually get that value and do something with that value. We can, for example, output that value to the console. So let's go to our IntelliJ IDEA IDE and let's create some real-world examples. Okay, so here it is my file, here it is the main function, and it is my function. So fun multiply, this is the name of the function. So notice that we have a pair of parentheses and we have some parameters, right? The first parameter actually represents the first number. So the name, first you need to specify the name of the parameter, first number, colon, and then you need to specify the data type of the parameter. In order to specify other parameters for this function, you need to put a comma here after the first parameter, and then you can specify the second parameter. So here the second number, colon, integer. So the data type of the second parameter is also integer. After the parenthesis of this multiply function, we have this colon here, right? So this colon here says that this function is going to return a value. So it says colon integer, and the data type of this value is going to be of type integer. So this means that we have a function that accepts two parameters of type integer and returns a value of type integer. So we have this opening curly brace followed by a closing curly brace. Inside this function, we have a variable called result, assignment operator. So here we get the first number multiplied by second number. So first number parameter multiplied by second number. And we want the result of this operation here to be assigned to this result variable. And then finally, we are going to return, so notice that we used this return keyword, return result, because this function must return a value. If I comment out this line of code here, now it's gonna show us an error. Why? Because this function here is not returning a value. So you can see this red line here. It says a return expression required in a function with a block body. We must return a value because here we specified that this function is going to return a value of type integer. So let me uncomment this line of code. So in order to call this method, this function actually, we need to go into this main function, and then I just need to say multiply. So because this function, when I actually created this function, I specified that this function is going to accept some parameters, right? Okay, so we have parameter, we have argument. When we create a method that is going to have some parameters, we say that, okay, this function has a parameter or parameters. But when we call this function, we are going to pass some arguments. So what's the difference between argument and parameter? The argument is the actual value. When we call this method multiply here, we need to pass two arguments. One for the first number and another one for the second number. So the first one is 2, comma, second number is number 7, right? So now we have this function here, right? So because this function returns a value of type integer, we can create a variable, and we can say that the name of this variable is my number, assignment operator, and then we can assign the result of this function to this variable, because this function multiply is going to return a value of type integer. So we can assign the returned value of this function to this variable, and then we can print this value to the console. So println my number. Let's run the app. So in the console, it says number 14, right? So 2 multiplied by 7, 14. So the result of this function in here, the returned value is going to be assigned to this myNumber variable, and then this value is going to be outputted to the console. We can also directly output the returned value of this multiply function to the console. So we can say println multiply. So here we just need to pass the first number and the second number, right, as the arguments. So the first number is 3, the second number is 9. Let's run the app. Now in the console, it says number 27, right? Number 27 is outputted to the console because we get the returned value here and we output it to the console. So that's it. If you have any questions about functions that return value, please post a discussion in the course, and then I'll do my best to answer all of your questions. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.